Hey folks, it's Jack with the Hamilton Realty Group at EXP, and thank you for joining us for our newest edition of Scaling Up. Dana's going to join us here in a minute. We're just having a little bit of some technical difficulties getting started today. It seems to be the...
no one ever has those, do they?
No, it seems to be the challenge that's going on. As I got my coffee today at Moore Street Market, they were having technical difficulties also. So, hey, welcome to this edition of Scaling Up. This is a episode where we look to help you, the agents out there in the marketplace, to improve your business, to make things a little bit easier for yourself. And actually, some of the points that we're going to talk about today, I actually just experienced, and I'll share that with you in our as we go through this. So this is about you and helping you to improve your businesses and make more money in less time with less energy spent. So let's go ahead and get to the topic today. If you've been following us, you folks know that we have been in a very intense training program currently with Coach Bill Pipes and the Agent Academy, and the program's called Sales Velocity. Personal shout out to Bill because we've known Bill for a long, long time. He's a friend and also, in our opinion, one of the actually best sales trainers out there when it comes to scripts and dialogues and mindset and all that stuff. And so what we're going to kind of talk about today is what we call kind of the ultimate offer process. Has anybody out there had any challenges getting your offers accepted lately? Yep.
It's happening every
day. We have, and in fact, some of the stuff that we're going to kind of deal with is going to be chatting about, the millennials, because we had an interview recently with this young couple, and let me preface that we primarily now, our business is second home retirement, and so we have several referrals that have come from past clients with their kids, helping them try to find houses. And as they talk about with the millennials, one of the guys we just got under contract said, so basically my generation is getting screwed right now.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Because of rising prices across the country, interest rates going up. It's just not a fun time for them. So we want to share some tips on how to get your offers accepted and do that. As I said, I was going to share as I was coming in, and we're a little bit late and a little discombobbled here today because of what's going on in the business. But I had somebody call me on a listing that we just put on the market and was basically begging and pleading to say, my person needs a roof over their head. We're coming in considerably over list price with a large amount of due diligence and an appraisal waiver and all kinds of things, and basically just saying, please don't accept the cash offer. So one of the things that we're going to deal with is how to address that, because obviously cash offers are a big part of what's going on in the market and the place, along with some of the other things with major institutions buying up the inventory around the country and in other, in some of the metropolitan areas.
Right.
It's just difficult. So we want to just kind of go through a few steps, and please ask questions. If you're interested, we can also send you this information and go over that with you. So put your email address in there, send us a note or whatever. But this is something we've been working on in our Sales Velocity program called the Ultimate Offer Process. And it really, number one, starts with actually sitting and meeting with your buyer and understanding what their belief system is. To see if they are really in tune with what's going on in the real estate business right now. So if you're sitting with a buyer and you're working with them, you want to kind of talk with them about, what have they been hearing, what's their experience over the last 90 days of what they're hearing in the real estate market.
Well, and then the key is, where are they hearing
Oh
from?
yeah, and absolutely the most important thing.
Is it a reliable source?
What
or
they're
are they
hearing.
just hearing people talk?
Yeah. And again, another real life story. I mean, we just put another young couple under contract on a second home down here in this marketplace. And I remember they came and visited a year ago, and long and short of the story is, the comment they made at one point in time was, oh, their banker's telling them it's not the right time to buy because the market's going to crash. And folks, that is totally, totally false.
Right.
And unfortunately for this couple, it probably cost them $100,000, and I know it cost them a bedroom, because what we were looking at, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and now they settled on a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. But that's a real life story. So as Dana mentioned,
Right.
who they're listening to is most important.
Yeah.
And then what you need to do, once you get through that, is actually deal with reality and to educate them on what is going on in your market. You've heard us say in these episodes before, you need to be the knowledge broker. You need to be the person that knows your market inside out and what's going on, so that you can talk to them about inventory levels, about, hey, we've only, in our marketplace in all of Brunswick County, we have like only a little over 1 month's supply of houses. 1 month. And you've probably heard us say this before, a normal market, meaning it's balanced, is the 6 month supply. So,
Right.
So, you need to talk about that. You need to talk about the listings that are coming on the market, the amount of sales that are happening, what the average sales price is. We have a very high average sales price in our county. We're like at $458,000 or somewhere in that range. Not real conducive for first-time home buyers.
Right.
But, and also talk with them about your opinions, and not opinions, by fact,
Right.
of what you think is going to happen in the market going forward.
I mean, as I always say, we're called, or people call us real estate salespeople, but are we really selling anything?
No.
And I say, no,
No,
we're
right.
not. Just because we talk to somebody today or call them, are they going to buy a house just because we called them today? If they weren't already? No.
Mhm.
Our job is to help people. It's to educate and inform and help people accomplish a goal and take the time. And I always say with buyers, I've always felt like I have 2 jobs. I want to make sure that we find that buyer the right home, what they're looking for to fit their needs.
Yeah, sure.
That's job number 1. But job number 2 is to make sure that they're making a good and smart investment. And to do that, we have to educate. And to do that, we have to be educated. So, I mean, we've got to constantly be knowing our market, watching those numbers month by month, knowing the comparisons, and knowing projections so that we can help these folks.
Right. And I'm not sure where you're viewing us from, but what I'm going to talk about next is some driving factors in the market that are really not the driving factors in ours. So I'm going to go through some of the things that are driving the market all over the country, and then step back and talk a little bit more about what's driving our market. But
Okay.
if you're in any of these metropolitan areas, one of the things that's driving the market right now is there's 78 million millennials. 78 million millennials out there. That is 31% of the population of people that are buying right now.
Yeah.
And everybody always talks about the boomers, which we're part of the boomer generation, and the boomers at their peak was only 27% of the market. So right now we've got 31% of the market, the millennials, and I have to assume that they are first-time buyers.
Right.
So again, average sales price and things are going to pay a big difference to them. 70% of those millennials are really wanting to buy a house in the next, few months to 3 years. So NAR, National Association of Realtors, right now says that 2021 and 2022 will be the millennials' peak home buying years. So, okay, 2021 we've already passed, and we're halfway through 2022. So we got to pay attention to that if you're in other markets. So now let's step back and look at our market. COVID has played a huge part of the demand in our market, because so many people that were close to retirement have now been told that they can work from wherever. And so we hear this a lot in and about the areas that we work of, well, if I can work from wherever, why in the world do I want to work in the middle of New York City or Philadelphia or Chicago when I can be in a beach community or a golf community, and when I get done work, I can just go and chill and start kind of experiencing what retirement's going to be.
Right. People that were putting it off,
Absolutely.
for a few years, whatever. until they quit work, now maybe can do it.
Yeah.
Or some people have retired early.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
because of COVID or some job situations. But I think when we were talking about that issue of the millennials out there in the market and creating such an impact, directly, no, we don't see a lot of millennials here, as Jack said. We're a retirement, second home investment market. However, I think it's still indirectly affecting us in the fact that the people that are moving here have a house to sell and are coming from a lot of these bigger metropolitan, New Jersey, New York, DC, some other places like that. And so therefore those millennials are out there in their markets, making their markets still hot, being able to get their homes sold for more, and then being able to come here and by droves, and it's not slowing down.
Yeah, it's not slowing down. We still have like less than a month inventory, as we talk about in Brunswick County.
Right.
I mean, the other thing that's causing the demand to kind of speed up a little bit is that our prices continue to rise. And every indication that we see from analysts that we study, and NAR and Mortgage Banker Association, we're going to continue to have an increase in price over the next 3 to 5 years. So that is speeding up demand for some people because, everybody, I don't care how much money you have or how little money you have, everybody has a threshold of where they're comfortable at. And if they're looking to retire here in the next few years and they know that prices are going to continue to increase, we got a lot of people buying now. So that's what's really happened. So it's important when you're talking with a buyer, wherever that is, that you explain to them supply and demand. And of course, in most markets right now, there's a tremendous more demand than there is supply, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what that does to pricing.
Right.
So, that's what's happening, and again, through our, interaction with the Asian Academy and some of the coaching businesses that we've been involved in the past, we're hearing that from everybody. It doesn't matter kind of where you are in the country. So that's something you have to understand. And then preparing that buyer, and I think even like the savvy buyer that, has purchased 2 or 3 times during their career, you need to have that mindset, as it says right here on point number 4, that you are in a competition for the house that you're looking at.
Right.
And I don't really care what price range it is because it's happening everywhere. Our average sales price is at, like I said, $458 or so. But I know some of the folks that we follow from our coaching world, they're in California. Yes, they're still having multiple offers on $1, $2, $3 million properties.
Sure.
So it's happening everywhere. So you got to understand that you are in a competition, and
so you got to prepare people for that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Set your expectations. Set their expectations of yes, you're going to be in competition. So if people are saying, "Oh, but I don't want to be in a competitive situation," then you really got to dig down and say, do you need to buy a house? Are you highly motivated having to buy a house? If so, then this is what you're going to begin. But give them maybe the better peace of mind to say, that's what we're here for, is to help you negotiate that and put you in the best competitive situation and help them through that.
And also to educate them on what we just talked about is that everything we're seeing is the properties are going to continue to appreciate. So the sooner that you can make that purchase, the better that you're going to be. So what we talked about is the ultimate process for getting your offers accepted. And so here's some of the things that we want to point out. And I'm going to read some of these to you just to go back and look at. So, we need to start looking from the eyes of the seller, because if you're a homeowner and you're going to sell your home and you've received 5 to 10 offers, what would be important to that seller that's going to stand out? So I think one of the things that we teach our team and we talk about all the time is to get your offer accepted, you need to be in a good working relationship with the listing agent.
Right.
You actually need to make a phone call to them and ask them some things that, what's the most important thing
Right.
to the seller
Right.
versus price. I mean, obviously price is gonna be one of those, but
Yeah.
what else is important?
Right.
And again, we're just gonna share a story because we're still actively in the business. So I made that call this weekend when we got one of our clients, a first-time buyer, under contract. And it was a kind of rural property, and when I called the listing agent, and I asked her, number one, have you any offers? And then number two, what's important to sellers? You're gonna laugh about this one. The most important thing to the sellers was their chickens. Yep, you heard it, chickens. They have a wonderful chicken coop and pen out there, and the most important thing to them was to be able to have possession of the property for a couple of days so that they could safely move their chickens to their new home, which is going to be in Georgia.
Right. So never assume, people.
Absolutely.
We make assumptions of, we think, oh, it's got to be price, it's got to be most important, or a quick closing, or a, but you don't know unless you ask. So yes, pick up the phone, call a listing agent, saying, hey, we want to put a
Right.
strong offer together. Excuse our fire trucks going
Excuse our
by.
fire trucks. We're on
But don't assume and say, hey, what's important to your seller? Sometimes sellers, maybe it's a longer time frame. They don't know where they're going, or maybe they need a possession after closing. We're seeing a lot of that.
Yes.
Here in our market, of sellers that are in the midst of building and they'd rather stay in their house but sell it so they know it's gone and get possession after closing. Or, we don't know. It could be a seller had a bad experience in the past, and so there's something you may not have even thought about that is going to make them feel better and accept that offer. So don't be afraid to reach out to the listing agent and ask those questions.
I mean, and his dad is stressing it's not to be afraid. That's kind of a must right now. If
Yeah.
you're really trying to get your buyer's offer accepted, that's a must. You got to do that. The other thing you got to be prepared to do is you're going to have to act quickly. And I mean quickly. Because again, in every price point, when a new home comes on the market, you're going to get exposure quick. One of the things in working with us or our team, and I hope with agents out there that are watching us, is that you have to know the market well, and you need to look at what we call the hot sheet every single day. We scour through that. Yeah, several times a day, actually. We scour through that right now just to make sure that we can get our buyer the perfect house and get them there quickly. So that's like the first thing we do every morning.
Right.
So you got to be able to act quickly. Also,
Even to the point of, and again, we deal with this a lot, but I think other people do in markets as well. Even if you have to do a virtual showing for your buyer,
absolutely.
a lot of our buyers
Yeah.
physically aren't even here in town. They're in other states or other cities. But even if
Yes.
you've got a buyer, even if your buyer is local, but maybe can't get away from work, until after 5, but that property's going to have offers and be gone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do a virtual showing, FaceTime them, Zoom call, video it and send it to them, whatever you got to do to get your buyer in or seeing that property, so that if it's going to truly go before they could get to it, that you've taken care of getting them in that house virtually.
Mm-hmm. And if you're in the market to buy, like I said, moving quickly is very important. And you just have to understand that you're going to be in most times a multiple offer situation. That's got to be something that you got to. If you're ready to buy, you got to accept that fact.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you need to do to make your offer look as best as possible is you have to eliminate as many contingencies as you can. And contingencies are things like a home inspection, or things like, waiving the appraisal price, or having the ability to bridge the gap. It's called the appraisal gap. You've got to be prepared for that. In our state, you have to be prepared to give a pretty significant amount of due diligence money. That's important. But as many contingencies that you can eliminate, the better.
Right.
This is something I learned, we're still learning and growing too. Was a great point that Bill made when we were going through this was get your lender to call the listing agent.
Sure.
Get your lender to call the listing agent. Tell them how strong the buyer is. Tell them how qualified they are. Anything you can do. And then the natural things, again, is you're going to have to go above list price on your offer. So if you've got a budget, one of the tips that you need to look at, and you can't exceed a certain amount of money, then you need to be looking at properties 10 to 15% at minimum below your budget.
Right.
And
And
hopefully
again,
that makes
that's
sense.
just called educating your buyer.
Yeah.
You know, they may think if they can afford, say, 400,000, that they can look at homes up to 400,000. And if they keep
Right.
doing that and trying to make offers on those, they're going to keep losing and get frustrated and give up. And so you've got to take control right off the bat and say, you know, you've hired me for a reason. I'm here to advise you.
Great point.
Here's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. And so you've got to, you know, stop that before it even starts.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, again, another point to make is to totally understand that you're probably not gonna get everything you want in a home. So you need to communicate with us, the agents, and you watching, what are one or two or three non-negotiables? These are must-haves.
Right.
Now let's see, any questions or anything coming up? So we've talked about going over list price, we've talked about removing contingency, we've talked about having the mindset that this is a competition and it's our job together to get you in that most competitive state to win this deal. That's the
Right.
most important thing. And then, you know, again, looking at our final couple of notes is probably a reality for most people is you're gonna have to understand that you may be writing offers on 3 to 4 to 5 different properties
Before you get one accepted.
before you get one
Yeah.
accepted. It's just again, it's just the market that we're in.
Right,
So,
so again, if you set that expectation up front
Right.
with your buyers, so they've got that, then they're not gonna get as frustrated when the first 2 or 3, whatever, get away from them. They're gonna go, okay, this is normal, right? This is our new normal, and they'll be okay with it and move forward. And they learn from those first initial offers too, because sometimes even though we advise buyers of, you know, you're gonna have to go above list price, you're gonna have to do more due diligence money, some other things like that, or waive some things, contingencies, as Jack was talking about. They hear you, but they don't
Yeah.
really get it at first. And sometimes it takes losing out on a couple properties for them to really grasp what's going on and go, oh, you really meant what you said. Yeah, we did.
yes, yeah.
So it's all a learning process, and the more you can educate them up front, the better. And then work through each situation with them and try to put them in the best competitive situation that
Right.
you can.
And you know, one of the things that I know Dan and I talk about all the time is you know, in our business, one of our big jobs is to be able to help take the emotion out of the business, out of the transaction. Because I don't care. I say this all the time. I don't care how many houses you've bought. I don't care if you do fix and flips. I don't care about the number of it. Buying and selling real estate is stressful.
It's emotional.
It's emotional, and our job is to provide facts to help you
Right.
get that best deal, and in this case,
Right.
get the house that you want.
Yeah.
And again, I just think of stories that have happened to us in the last just few weeks, because it happens in every price range. I mean, we have a gentleman we're working with that's, you know, again, it's a retirement home, but it's, you know, pretty, in our market, pretty pricey, anything over 750, you know, below $1 million, what they're looking at. And, you know, the very first house, he dragged his feet, and by the time we got ready to write an offer, we got the, oh, I'm sorry, we already have an accepted offer on the property.
Mhm.
And as many times as this person has purchased houses, I could feel the emotion and the disappointment as soon as I told him that.
Mhm.
And so I had to reassure him that it was our job, that we would find him a home that would be perfect for him. So that's, again, just the point of emotions. Again, I don't care how many times you've done it. It's emotional.
It is.
And you get, and Dan, as Dan said, the right word, you just get disappointed. So you've got to make sure you're educating your buyers that this is a competition, that you may be writing offers on 3 to 4 properties before you get one accepted, but that if they're really serious about purchasing, that you can help them do that.
Yeah, Absolutely.
All
That's great.
right, we did a lot of rambling. Anybody, any questions, anything going
Not
on
right
out
now.
there? Okay. Well, hopefully, this helps you in improving your business and getting your buyers' properties, your buyers' offers accepted. And as always, please feel free to reach out to one of us if we can be of any assistance. And follow us on our next edition of Scaling Up. All right, Dana, I
Thanks
think
so
we're
much.
done.
Have a great day.
Take care.